If you can afford to go to Iceland, I highly recommend that you put it on your bucket list. This has been the greatest trip of my entire life so far, and I'm going to share with you how I paid for it, how I executed it, and just a general overview of what we did. I will link my Wonderlog trip down below, as well as where I found this plan that I will be following. Probably 5 months in advance, I decided that I wanted to go see the Northern Lights, and Iceland was the best place to go. I went during late October during, I think it was like no full moon. It just had to be pitch black and clear skies for you to be able to see the Northern Lights. Only saw a smidgen of the Northern Lights. My friend actually saw it on the plane as we were coming in, but I needed to get my beauty sleep, so I didn't see it. That's whatever. The rest of the country and its beauty makes up for it. To afford this trip, I planned out that I was going to move into my first apartment, and I was going to put all of my moving expenses onto a Chase Capital Reserve credit card. Pretty high annual fee, but the benefits and the sign-up bonus kind of weighted out. This video is no tour guide. I'm not going to pronounce or even attempt to pronounce any of the names of the places that we went to in respect to the country. The only issue with my Wonderlog plan was that I booked one of our Airbnbs on day 5 or 6 at the wrong spot. So we ended up having to drive back like, I don't know, an hour. And then the next day had to drive an additional hour. So I would just be cautious of that. But other than that, it's a great app to plan your trips, not sponsored. In total, we ended up driving 900 miles on Ring Road, which goes all the way around the entire country. Now for the nitty gritty. We spent a total of 9 days in Iceland. And then we spent like an additional 2 days traveling from Boston to Iceland. But I'm just gonna tell you about the prices and the costs associated with our trip in Iceland. Our flight, it was $285 round trip from Boston. And then I took a $140 flight from my home city to Boston. So all in all, $425 total for the flight. A lot of our accommodations I put on points, so we technically didn't pay for any of our accommodations, but average price for just a room to share between the two of us, whether it be a hostel or a hotel or an Airbnb, it ranged between $50 for a one-night stay and up to as high as $137. I spent about $305 on food. The gas station food is really good, so we tried our best to grab gas station food or supermarket food and stock up on that before we drove out to the middle of nowhere to stay in our Airbnb, so that we didn't have to go out, because I don't think they had DoorDash or Uber Eats. The food was delicious and nutritious. The chocolate in Iceland is no bueno. We ended up buying a lot of significant amount of chocolate, but granted, if you look at Iceland and their geographic location, they don't make chocolate, or they don't grow the cacao beans, so their chocolate was not so hot. But everything was like licorice themed or like mixed with licorice. So if you're into licorice, then you'd have a swell time in Iceland. I also ate a lot of fish jerky. If you ever heard of skyr, it's like their country yogurt. It's low-key cheese, but it's delicious. We spent the same amount of money, more or less the same amount of money for food in Iceland per meal as we did in Boston. I think the costs in Iceland were relative to the costs in America. Lamb soup, A1. I also recommend that you stock up beforehand. I bought a lot of like packaged foods just because I didn't want to be surprised when I got to Iceland and had to spend a whole bunch of money on food. So I ended up bringing things I could cook while I was there that didn't require a lot of steps. And that helped me to save a lot of money. Make sure you hydrate, because there have been so many times where I have neglected to drink water and I just felt nauseous. Our rental car came out to be a total of $389. We rented through the local company called Northbound. It was a tiny little thing. It was tiny. It had a sign on the windshield that said, "In case of strong winds, hold the door." Every time the wind would blow, my friend Asia, she'd grab onto my door side and like hold them two together. Or, like, she'd have to like slam her car door because like the door would lift sometimes. You pay for what you get, but I would do it again 100%. Gas or petrol for our 9-day trip totaled out to be $145. I ended up getting a 10 gigabyte SIM card from the airport. It cost me $27 and I used Google Maps the entire route. I made sure that I turned off tolls because tolls in Iceland are expensive, and if you get hit with them, it's a kind of a complicated process to pay it. The tolls aren't just like $3 and $4, it's like 20 plus. So make sure you turn off your tolls and take the long routes, because every road, every aspect of the road that we took was scenic and beautiful, and you don't want to miss out on a long, windy road at any point on the trip. Civilization! All in all, we spent $223 on activities. This included our many hot springs. We went to 6 hot springs. They were all hot. That's pretty much it. Anywhere from free 99 to a few dollars to pay for like parking and like maintenance of the hot spring, or as expensive as $35 per person. We ended up going to my Vatten on day 7, which was in the north side of the island. A lot of people go to the cliche Blue Lagoon, and I highly recommend, or me personally, I don't like to go to touristy places because they are overpacked, overcrowded, over touristy, over cliched-y. So we went to the one on the north side of the island and we had a great time going there. And yeah, it was $35 if you have a student ID.
How's this walk treat you? How's this walk treat you? Tell our YouTube followers.
I'll go make it. I've been here for 5 years, 22 months. I'm still going.
We also ended up doing a glacier hike, which was $130. Welcome to my reality TV show where I live with ice.
Are you gonna drink that one?
Should I drink that one?
No, just drink this one.
Okay.
Don't put your tongue on it. It'll get stuck.
It's running water. So
Does it taste like the glacier water?
oh yeah, Icelandic. Icelandic water for sure.
Do a nice push-up. Some great upper arm strength.
Nice one. One for the year.
Like a real Viking push-up.
Ooh. Yeah.
Look at my hands. You think there's somewhere to wash them?
In the water right there.
Jump.
I ended up spending about $180 on miscellaneous and souvenir items. During late October to early November, the temperature was relatively cold. I think it ranged between 30s to 40s. I honestly could have packed a lot less. I was wearing sweatpants, and then I put jeans on, and then my regular socks underneath my thick wool socks, and then I was wearing boots, If I were to go again, I probably would have got some boots with more traction because, you know, my fashion Converses were slipping and sliding on every piece of ice. And then I just had one extra jacket. But once you're in the hot springs, it's extremely hot. So you're warm, you come out, and you don't even feel the cold weather. I do recommend that you pack light. Climates would change so frequently while we were driving around. We didn't really need to be wearing our big heavy jacket in the car. We also did pick up a pair of alpaca gloves. You could probably find them from the thrift store in Iceland for cheap, but we ended up buying gloves for maybe, I don't know, $20. It was a great investment, especially, you know, when we were out and about.
Yeah, you smell that fresh air. Breathe it in, suck it up.
That's the good kush. That oxygen. I had on a wig. It was the first time me wearing a wig, so that helped to keep my ears warm. But you know, I had a hat on top of that because that wind chill factor is serious, and my ears get really cold.
This that Remy Yaki. Maybe she's born with it.
Show your hand. And let you touch it.
They're friendly.
I want to touch it.
But the weather, honestly, I love the weather. Like, if you can tell from video, I'm over here like, So total, I spent $1,405 on my trip to Iceland. That was 9 days. I also spent approximately $135 in Boston. So if you want to add that to the total cost, I used approximately 55,500 reward points with my Chase Sapphire Reserve. This was a great trip. We planned it out extremely well. The people of Iceland were extremely friendly, and I always appreciate people who can speak more than one language. But everyone was very helpful, and the country was beautiful, as you see in the clips, here and there and everywhere. Yeah, thank you.